It was a warm September afternoon when Alex Daniels arrived at Indigo University. His sharp jawline, piercing blue eyes, and perfectly tousled haircut could have made him the envy of every student on campus. But today, he didn't look that part. Instead, he wore faded jeans and shirt. For all anyone knew, Alex was just another scholarship student struggling to make ends meet. What no one realized was that Alex was the sole heir to Indigo Enterprise, a multi-billion-dollar dominating industries from tech to real estate. The company was his birthright, but with his parents' tragic passing, his uncle Gerald has stepped in as an interim CEO until Alex completed his education and is ready to take over. Remember Alex, his uncle had said, "Stay humble, stay hidden, finish school and learn about the real world. Only then will you be ready to lead." Alex had reluctantly agreed. Now, here he was, living a quiet life and navigating life as an ordinary student in the campus. Indigo University was renowned for its elite student body. Children of CEOs, politicians, and celebrities. Alex's attempt to blend in as a poor student didn't go unnoticed. "Hey Alex," sneered Sophia, one of the wealthiest and most popular girls on campus, as she deliberately bumped into him. "Watch where you are going to, or can't you afford to buy glasses?" Her friends laughed as Alex picked up his books. He was used to their taunt by now. But their bullying didn't bother him as much as the loneliness. Being undercover meant he couldn't make genuine connections. No one knew who he really was and couldn't trust anyone too. Until he met her. Miss Ifunanya was everything Alex admired in a person and in a woman. She was a literature professor with a radiant smile, warm brown eyes, and a voice that could calm the fiercest storm. She had a way of making even the most complex Shakespearean text come alive. Unlike the other faculty members, who seemed to favor the wealthy students, Miss Ifunanya treated everyone equally. She noticed Alex not as a poor student, but as someone with potentials. "Alex," she said one day after class, "your essay on Macbeth was exceptional. Have you ever thought about pursuing writing?" Her words lit a spark in him. For the first time in months, he felt seen. As his admiration for Miss Ifunanya grew, so did his desire to get close to her. But there was an unspoken rule in the school. Teachers and students could never form personal relationships. Alex respected her too much to break that rule. Then one night, while scrolling through social media, an idea struck him. What if I could talk to her as someone else? Using the photo of a random model he found online, Alex created a fake profile under the name Daniel Reed. He sent Miss Ifunanya a friend request, his heart pounding. To his surprise, she accepted. Over the few weeks, Alex and Miss Ifunanya, now Daniel, exchanged messages. He poured his heart out in a way he never could in person, sharing his dreams, fears, and the grief of losing his parents. Miss Ifunanya, in turn, revealed her struggles. She spoke about the pressure of being a teacher, the loneliness of her life, and her yearning for a genuine connection. "Daniel, you're different," she wrote one evening. "I've never met anyone who understands me the way you do." Alex felt a pang of guilt. He wanted to tell her the truth, but he couldn't risk losing her. Not yet, at least. As their online relationship deepened, Alex's real-life interaction with Miss Ifunanya grew more complicated. "Alex, are you okay?" she asked one day after class. "You seem distracted." "I am fine," he lied, avoiding her gaze. How could he explain that he was falling for her twice over, as her student and as Daniel? Meanwhile, Sophie and her clique continued their bullying. They couldn't understand why Alex, the poor kid, seemed so indifferent to their taunt. "He's probably used to being invisible," Sophie sneered one day. Little did they know Alex was far from invisible. One fateful evening, Miss Ifunanya suggested a video call. "I want to see your face, Daniel," she said. Daniel leaned back in the chair, staring at the screen of his phone. The message from Miss Ifunanya glowing softly in the dim light. "Daniel, let's do a video call tonight. I want to see your face." His heart thudded painfully in his chest. She wanted to see him. She wanted to see Daniel Reed, the charming man she had believed lived abroad, the man Alex had invented to get close to her. Alex rubbed his temples. How could he pull this off without destroying everything they had built? He glanced at the mirror, his real face staring back at him. That evening, Alex set up a screen overlay using pre-recorded clips of the model whose photo he had used for Daniel. He rehearsed for hours, synchronizing his voice perfectly to the video. When the call connected, Miss Ifunanya's face lit up. "Daniel!" she exclaimed, her voice brimming with joy. "Hey, Ifunanya," Alex said, his voice smooth but strained. The conversation started smoothly, but Alex's nerves began to unravel. The clips weren't syncing properly. A little delay in the video made Daniel appear distracted. "Is everything okay?" Miss Ifunanya asked, concerned, creasing her brow. Yes, everything is fine," Alex said quickly, his palms sweating. But just as she smiled again, a glitch caused the video to freeze entirely. Miss Ifunanya sighed deeply, her disappointment palpable. "Maybe we should stick to audio calls," she suggested. "I feel closer to you that way. I feel connected to you during our audio calls." Alex breathed a sigh of relief. "If that's what you want, I'm okay with it." She had no idea what length he was going to just to keep their relationship intact. Despite the close calls, their connection deepened. Alex found himself falling more in love with Miss Ifunanya every day. They didn't go a day without speaking to each other twice or even 3 times. Her warmth, kindness, and intelligence captivated him in a way no one else had ever done. He began sending her gifts, extravagant ones that left her speechless. A diamond wristwatch one week, a designer handbag the next week. Each package came with a handwritten note signed by Daniel. "Daniel, these gifts are too much," she told him over the phone one night. "All my house is filled with gifts. I don't know how to thank you." "Just let me love you," Alex replied, his voice filled with sincerity. Miss Ifunanya's best friend, Ada, was happy for her, but couldn't hide her concern. "Are you sure about this guy?" Ada asked one afternoon as they sipped tea in Miss Ifunanya's cozy apartment. "I have never been sure of anything in my life," Miss Ifunanya replied, a dreamy smile on her lips. "Daniel is everything I have ever wanted. He's kind, generous, and he understands me more than I understand myself." "But you have never met him in person," Ada countered. "What if he is not who he say he is?" Miss Ifunanya's smile faltered. I trust him, Ada. I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like I have known this guy forever. Ada sighed deeply, deciding not to press further. She just hoped her friend wasn't setting herself up for a heartbreak. Meanwhile, Alex's uncle Gerard was growing increasingly worried. "You're playing a dangerous game, my son," he said during one of their weekly meetings in the house. "What happens when she finds out the truth? Do you think she will forgive you?" Alex stared at the floor. "I will make it right, uncle. I love her so much and I don't want to lose her." "Alex, she is older than you, a teacher. What if she doesn't feel the same way once she knows who you really are?" "She will," Alex insisted, though doubt gnawed at him. "I will tell her when the time is right." Things took a turn when a fellow lecturer, Mr. Chris, began showing interest in Miss Ifunanya. Chris was persistent, showing up unannounced to her office with flowers and compliments. "Ifunanya, you're too beautiful to be single. Allow me to love you," he said one day, leaning against her desk. "I am not single," she replied firmly. "I am in a serious relationship." "With someone you have never ever met before?" Chris sneered. Miss Ifunanya glared at him. "That's none of your business." But Chris wasn't one to take no for an answer. He started spreading rumors about her imaginary boyfriend, whispering to colleagues that she was being catfished. Alex, who overheard these rumors during one of his classes, was seething. He wanted to confront Chris, but knew he couldn't without revealing his secret. One afternoon, Alex spotted Chris leaning too close to Miss Ifunanya as they walked across campus. Chris' hand briefly touched her arm, and Alex's blood boiled. Later that night, during their phone call, Alex couldn't hide his jealousy, and he does not know how to approach the issue because he doesn't want to blow his own cover. "Who was that guy with you today?" he asked, his tone sharper than usual. "What guy?" Miss Ifunanya asked, genuinely confused. "The one who keeps bothering you at school? Or is there no one bothering you at school?" Miss Ifunanya sighed. "It's Chris. He's just a colleague. Daniel, he means nothing to me," Ifunanya replied. "But he clearly likes you," Alex said, his voice tense. "I only have eyes for you," she replied softly. Her words calmed him down, but the thought of Chris lingering around her still gnawed at him. One evening, Miss Ifunanya received an anonymous tip about Daniel. "Be careful of the man you are talking to," the note read. "He's not who he says he is." Disturbed, she confronted Alex, still believing he was Daniel, during their next call. "Is there something you are not telling me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Alex's heart raced. "Of course not. Who sent you that message?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but it's making me question everything." Alex knew he had to act fast. If the truth came out before he was ready to tell himself, he would lose her forever. Desperate to protect their relationship, Alex devised a plan to expose Chris as the one spreading the rumors. With his uncle's reluctant help, he uncovered evidence that Chris had been forging documents and stealing the university funds. The evidence was anonymously sent to the university board, and Chris was swiftly dismissed from the school. Miss Ifunanya was relieved, but also shaken. "I can't believe someone I worked with could do something like that," she told Alex over the phone. "People aren't always who they seem," Alex replied, his words laced with irony. The sun was setting as Miss Ifunanya stepped out of her house, drawn by the sight of a sleek black car parked at her gate. It was a luxury vehicle she could only dream of owning, its polished surface gleaming like a star. Her breath caught when she noticed a note tapped to the windshield. She picked it up, her hands trembling. To the love of my life, this is just the beginning of the life I want to give you. Check the box inside the car. Her heart pounded. She opened the car door and found a small velvet box resting on the passenger seat. Her fingers shook as she opened it, revealing a dazzling diamond ring. Before she could process what was happening, her phone rang. "Daniel," she answered breathlessly. His deep voice came through the line. "Ifunanya, my love, my word. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she clutched the phone tightly. "Yes, yes, I will marry you." Her voice cracked with emotions, and for a moment the world felt perfect. Alex hung up, his chest tight with a mix of exhilaration and fear. He had done it. He had proposed and she had said yes. But as he turned to face his Uncle Gerard, he knew the storm was far from over. "What are you thinking, son?" Gerard thundered. "You are playing with fire. Do you realize what would happen if she found out the truth?" Alex paced the room, his hands buried in his head. "I love her, Uncle. I can't back out now. Please, just help me one last time." Gerard sighed deeply, his frustration evident. "You are digging yourself into a hole you might not be able to climb out of. Fine, I will handle the dowry payment. But mark my words, son, this can't go on forever." At school, Alex worked so hard to stay close to Miss Ifunanya. He carried her bags, helped her with tasks, and even brought her lunch on occasion. She seemed to enjoy his company, though she couldn't understand why she felt so drawn to him. "Alex," she said one afternoon as he walked her to her new car, "you remind me of someone." He froze for a moment but quickly recovered. "Really? Who?" She smiled softly, shaking her head. "I'm not sure. It's just your voice, your kindness. It stirred something deep inside me, and it reminds me of someone." Her voice thrilled and terrified him in equal measure. Meanwhile, Sophie, the queen bee of the campus, had noticed Alex's closeness to Miss Ifunanya. Well, Sophie sneered to her clique. "Looks like our poor little Alex has a thing for this teacher." Her friends giggled maliciously, and Sophie's eyes gleamed with mischief. "We will see how long their little friendship lasts. No teacher is allowed to date a student in the school. Let's make sure the whole school knows. I hate that boy. He is poor and is still full of himself." Within days, rumors about Alex and Miss Ifunanya were flying around campus. Sophie and her clique spread the whisper like wildfire, embellishing the story at every turn. "Did you know? Did you hear? Alex and Miss Ifunanya are dating. She's even giving him special treatment in class. Someone saw them together outside the school the other day." The school management soon caught wind of the rumors and began an investigation. While chaos brewed at school, the day of the dowry payment arrived. Miss Ifunanya was dressed in a stunning traditional outfit, her heart racing with excitement. She couldn't wait to officially become Mrs. Daniel Reed. On the day of the occasion, the guests arrived. She was surprised to find only Gerard, Daniel's uncle, present to represent the family. "Where is Daniel?" she asked, her eyes scanning the room as she picks up her mobile phone. He got caught up on his way at the airport, Gerald explained smoothly. But he asked me to handle everything on his behalf. He sent his love and promised to see you soon immediately he arrives. Ifunanya was disappointed, but didn't question it further. She was deeply in love and trusted Daniel completely. That evening, Gerald returned home with Ifunanya as planned after the dowry payment. Alex was pacing around in the living room of their grand mansion, his heart pounding in his chest. This was the moment he had dreaded and dreamed of. When the door opened, Ifunanya stepped inside with her luggages, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. She had been waiting for this moment to finally meet her fiancé, her husband, in person. But as her gaze landed on Alice, she froze. Her smile faltered, confusion, disbelief washing over her face at once. "Alex, what are you doing here?" she said. Alex swallowed hard, his mouth dry. "Welcome home, my wife. I am Daniel." The room spun around her as her mind struggled to make sense of his words. "What are you talking about? This has to be a joke, right?" "It's not," Alex said, his voice trembling. "I am Daniel, the man you have been talking to, the one who proposed to you, the one who just paid your dowry. It is me. I am your husband." Ifunanya's words shattered in an instant. She stumbled back, clutching the door frame for support. "You lied to me?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "All this time, you were lying to me?" "I didn't mean to hurt you," Alice pleaded, stepping closer. "I fell in love with you, Ifunanya. I didn't know how else to be with you. I'm sorry." Tears streamed down her face as anger and betrayal consumed her. "You deceived me, Alex. You're a child. You played with my heart. Do you have any idea what you have done?" Gerald intervened, his face grim. "Ifunanya, I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. He's young, foolish, but his feelings for you are real." She turned to Gerald, her voice rising. "You knew about this too? And you helped him? He is a child." Gerald interfered and said, "I only wanted to protect him. Besides, he is not a child and age is just a number." Gerald said softly. Ifunanya shook her head, her heart breaking. "I trust you, Alex. I loved you, and you turned my life into a lie." Ifunanya stormed out of the house, leaving Alex devastated. He wanted to chase after her, but his uncle stopped him. He knew she needed time to process everything that just happened. Miss Ifunanya sat coiled up on her couch, the dim glowing of her phone illuminating her tear-streaked face. Her suspension letter lay on the table, a cruel reminder of how far her life had spiraled. The accusation of an improper relationship with a student had left her broken, confused, and alone. Her phone buzzed incessantly with calls from Alex, but she refused to answer them. She couldn't bear to hear his voice, not after the betrayal. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, a pain morphed into a hollow ache. She realized something that terrified her. She missed him terribly. A week later, Ifunanya received a call from the university. "Miss Ifunanya," the voice on the other end said, "your suspension has been lifted. You are reinstated, effective immediately." "Stone?" she asked, but why? "I thought the investigation wasn't over." "The decision came from above," the voice explained. "A formal apology will be issued to you soon." Though relieved, she couldn't help but wonder who had intervened. Her mind drifted to Alex's uncle, Gerard. Perhaps he was trying to make amends. When Ifunanya returned to campus, the atmosphere was tense but quiet. The whisper and the side glances were still there, but no one dared to confront her. She threw herself into her work, determined to rebuild her life once more. But there was one glaring absence. Alex, the boy who had been so desperate to near her, who had once carried her bags and lingered after class, was nowhere to be found. He had stopped calling, stopped showing up, and the absence was unbearable. She realized that, despite everything, her heart longed for him. Now that she understood the connection they had shared all along, the ache was sharper, the void deeper. One evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, her phone rang. She froze when she saw the caller ID. It was Alex. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Should she answer? Could she forgive him? Before she could second guess herself, she found herself answering the call. Hello? There was silence for a moment. Then his voice came through, raw and vulnerable. Ifunanya, I'm so sorry. Her throat tightened as tears filled her eyes. She had thought she was strong, but hearing his voice broke down every wall she has built around her heart. I never meant to hurt you, Alex continued, his voice trembling. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you the truth without losing you. If you loved me, why did you lie to me? She whispered, her voice cracking. I didn't plan it, he admitted. But once I fell in love with you, I couldn't stop. You are everything to me, Ifunanya, and I will do whatever it takes to prove that to you. She didn't realize she was crying until she felt the wetness of her cheeks. Alex, I don't know if I can trust you again, she said. I will earn your trust, he promised. Just give me a second chance. 2 days later, Ifunanya found herself standing outside Alex's mansion, her heart pounding. She had tried to resist this urge, but the pull was so strong. When Alex opened the door, the vulnerability in his eyes made her chest tighten. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, and the sight of him stirred something deep within her. I missed you, he said softly, stepping aside to let her in. She didn't reply, but the tears in her eyes spoke volumes. Instead, he led her to the living room and knelt before her. Ifunanya, I promise you this. I will never lie to you again. I will never hurt your feelings. You mean the world to me, and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. She stared at him, her emotions a whirlwind of love, anger, and hope. Slowly, she reached out and touched his face. I missed you too, she admitted, her voice breaking. As he pulled her into his arms, the weight of their shared pain began to lift. For the first time in weeks, Ifunanya felt whole again. Over the next few weeks, Alex worked tirelessly to prove his love. He introduced her to his business world, sharing every detail of his life with her. Ifunanya, though caution, began to rebuild her trust in him. Besides, they are now husband and wife. She saw the sincerity in his actions and the depth of his remorse. One evening, as they sat in their home, Alex took her hand. I have made mistakes, he said, his voice steady. But loving you wasn't one of them. Will you give me the chance to love you the way you deserve? She smiled, her heart swelling with hope. You already have, Alex. Besides, I'm your wife. And as they leaned into each other, their love stronger than ever, They knew that despite everything, they had found their way back to each other. The moral of this story is simple. Age is just a number when it comes to love. When you found someone you love, do not hesitate to make them yours. Honesty is the foundation of love. Alex's initial deception, though fueled by fear and insecurity, caused pain and nearly destroyed his relationship with Ifunanya. The story emphasized on the importance of truth and transparency in building trust in relationships. Love requires forgiveness. Ifunanya's ability to forgive Alex despite his mistakes highlights the power of forgiveness in mending broken relationships. True love often requires looking beyond flaws and focusing on the good in people. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. See you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment what you feel about the story. And also, don't forget to on your notification to be notified whenever I drop my stories. See you and Happy New Year.